to you, and welcome aboard as we get our Thursday started. I'm Dan Gresham, and yes, this is the at-home update, and reasonably named, I think, because we're at home. We've been doing this, if you're first time you've ever seen it, we've been doing this actually for more than 2 years now in some form or fashion. So appreciate you joining us this morning. Hang around a few minutes. We got a lot of things we're going to talk about. You know, the point of this is to kind of get you up to speed on some stories that are happening in our community. And the idea being that you can get all the news you want, national news 24/7. All you have to do, right on your phone. I mean, it's everywhere you go, it inundates you, but what you can't get a lot of times, and what we, and as local journalists do, is give you the local story. That's what our mission has always been. It's the one thing you can't get anywhere else is the local news. It's got to come from people who live here. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Too late now, too deep into this to try to swim back the other direction. I just hope we can carry on what's going on as far as keeping you informed. I do want to, off the top this morning, because I had a lot of people who've asked me, hey, I watch the morning show all the time. What's going on? What is up? Well, we had a real issue with some ransomware that's now months past, but we're still working to get past it. Technically, we're having issues. We hope, fingers crossed, I'm told that maybe by next week we can go back to our normal format. B, yeah, you've seen different faces because it's the holidays. And just like at your business, a lot of people take time off. So Chad has been off, Jillian's been off, Dan's been off. So yeah, you've seen some different faces. But hopefully as we get into the new year, we'll settle down a little bit and have a chance to get back to the old way of doing things, as somebody told me. I like the old way. I was like, well, that's because you got an old guy doing it. That's why it's the old way. All right, don't forget, this is a Facebook Live. Not that you didn't already know that. Also, it's available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which is Dan's at Home. All you got to do is once you get YouTube, put it in your search. It should pop up, and you can watch it that way as well. A couple of things we ask you to do. If you're interested, you're watching someplace, say hi. It's real simple. Just good morning, where you're watching from, what's going on in your world. We can kind of talk about, I don't do the resolution thing because I never can keep them. But I always think about things I would like to do differently next year, maybe, or things that I didn't do very well in the previous year. So you want to tell me what your resolution is, or what you look forward to, or what you're glad to leave behind in 2021. And also a little bit later this morning, we'll end this little time together. We'll end it with a look at my 10 favorite reads, 10 favorite books that I read for 2021. So if you've got a favorite book you read this year and it's not on my top 10 list, send it to me. I'm always looking for good reading material, and if it's not for me, it's for my dad. If it's not for my dad, it's for other people that I know that share the love of reading. So comment if you want. Let's see. Let's do some comments this morning. Check out who's up and running on this 30th day of December. Morning, Jessica. Glad to see you. Buenos dias as well. Mary Harrison, good morning to you. Joyce Potter Ewing is up over in Port Neches this morning. Also, the president apparently is up as well. Marie Jackson, good morning to you. Hi, Kathy Street. Good to have you up with us this morning. I see Robin Hollins is up this morning. Hi, Jennifer. Good morning, Lillian and Finette. Also, Lucille is here in Port Arthur. David Peru, good morning to you. Also, James Mouton as well. Joanne Wheaton, good morning. Gina says she's watching there in Mauriceville. Thanks, Gina. The other thing I would ask you to do is not only to take the time to post your comment, but also hit me with a like if you don't mind. That's a thumbs up. It's just one of those things that if you do that, my bosses know that you were watching, or at least some people were watching when I go home and do these. And the other thing, it creates another algorithm, so it gets spread a little bit further across Facebook when that happens as well. Hi, Lionel. Good morning to you. Ira's up this morning. Kimberly is up as well. Ebony is up with us. Hi, Ebony. And Wendy Zeno is also watching this morning. Good morning, Wendy. All right, so let's get into it. Check on some headlines. If you weren't early riser this morning, didn't get up and get going, you may have missed it. Maybe you didn't. I was looking out the window. When I drove home just a few minutes ago from the studios, I didn't see a whole lot, but the fog was particularly heavy this morning. Our producer, Jennifer, who told me she drove in this morning from Port Arthur, she said, that's as dense as I've ever seen fog. She said, I'm driving in on Highway 9669. I can't even see the state prison, or I can't see the county jail from the road. It's that thick. I can barely, and that's scary. She told me, it made me very nervous. Yeah, should, when, you get that. And my point being, when we say our top story this morning, Beaumont police are investigating a fatal collision involving a motorcycle and a car on College Street. Now, it's too early to say that, that was the reason that was fog. I do want to show you, you hit this and you'll play out. You have to watch an ad, but it only takes a couple of seconds. So if you want to watch our news stories on our website, it's easy to do. Just click the arrow. You know what that means. It'll play out the story. And yes, there is a commercial, but then, and this is the video from this morning. So you get a good indication of just how thick that fog was. They're still investigating to see what happened. Details are, again, a fatal collision between a car and a motorcycle. I'd also like to take the moment to remind you, please drive aware. We're in that time of the year, whether there's fog or no fog, it can be a problem. So please be aware as you're driving, especially those people who might be on motorcycles. It's real easy to, just get caught up in what you're doing in the car, whether you're paying attention or not paying attention. And let's be honest, a lot of us are answering our phones. A lot of us, even if you have hands free, it can still be distracting. Make sure you spend the time, especially this time of year, pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to those around you. I'm a motorcycle rider. At least I was. I don't feel nearly as comfortable anymore, and I've ridden a lot of miles in a lot of parts of this country and seen some beautiful things. And I do enjoy riding a motorcycle. But at some point, it got to where it wasn't very comfortable anymore, not because I didn't feel like the way I rode, but because there are things that are out of your control. And everything in life is about risk, comfort, risk, budget. I thought that was a pretty good one. I always say risk tolerance. That's where I come from. But I saw a lot of people that say we all have a risk budget. How much are you willing to risk in life? And at some point, maybe you're not willing to risk going out on a motorcycle, but it doesn't have to be that way. Or a bicycle. That happens as well. All right, other stories we're following this morning, of course, you're not going to get away from Omicron. It is here. It's everywhere. Now we know it's officially here. City of Port Arthur, the health department there, confirming the first 2 cases of Omicron variant in our area. And that means, of course, that they are tested. Not only have they been tested, but they have been turned into the state. So we now know it's a fact. And you know as well as I do, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to get this variant, and they're not going to feel very bad. If, the word is, if you're vaccinated, and I'm talking about fully vaccinated, you've had both of the vaccines and the booster, chances are you're only going to feel very minor symptoms. Many people say the symptoms are not much more than the common cold. For other people, maybe it's more than that. So there are going to be a lot of people who will never test. There are going to be a lot of people who may test with home kits that will never report it to anyone else. So numbers are never going to be 100% accurate. But it's enough to know that it's out there. It's enough to know that it spreads very quickly. How do we know? Because of the number of cases that are being reported that are coming into the state. Here's Orange County, 100% increase in positive cases. That can be misleading too. That would be like saying 100% if you had 2 people who tested and 4 tested the next day, right? That's 100%. But You're looking down, you'll see Orange County, 169 new positive cases over a 5-day period, 6-day period. But they're coming fast and furious now, and they will. The real question is severity. The real question is hospitalization. Here is the latest from the state of Texas. This is Texas Tribune. You can go and look at this information yourself. Texas see the biggest jump in hospitalization since the summer Delta surge. 1 in 4 COVID-19 tests are positive. And you can see the trends that are popping up. Vaccine doses are up. Hospitalizations are up, but not markedly. They are not up the way that we saw them during Delta. But it is early in this wave. It is early in this surge, the Omicron surge, to see where it goes. What we have been told in the studies that have been seen, whether it's from the CDC or if it's from the Imperial College in London or from some of the South African studies when it comes to the Omicron variant, what we are seeing, hospitalization stays are less in length and severity. Now, will that hold true for the entire period of time that we have to deal with that? I don't know. It remains to be seen. But that's, again, something we want to keep an eye on, right? All right. So that's a quick check of just some of the stories that are going on. I'm not going to keep you a long time this morning. It's Thursday. It's not my favorite day of the week. It's still dragging a little bit, just having to get up this morning. But I do want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about one of my favorite things, and that is I like to read. I don't know about you, but I enjoy reading. Maybe sometimes, if you were to ask my wife, I probably enjoy it too much and I spend too much time doing it. But I don't know. It's always been kind of a source for me of information. It can be escapism. It can be a lot of things. But every year on this date, I try to put out what I call Dan's Top 10, which is just simply, it's not necessarily the best books published this year. It's the best books I read this year. Now, most of them are fairly current, because if you read a lot, you're going to be reading the stuff that's coming out. I'm not a person who rereads books. I don't usually rewatch movies. And the reason being very simple, there are just too many good ones out there not to see them all. Read them all if you can. This is one of my favorites. If you're not familiar with Anthony Dewar, you might recognize his book, All the Light We Cannot See, which another one of my favorites. This one I'm in the middle of right now, but as far as I've gotten, I can already tell it's one of my favorite books this year as far as the way it's written and just the way that I'm always amazed. And I guess part of that thing about reading is somebody sits in a room and comes up with these concepts, ideas, conversations, characters, and then can lay them out. And obviously some people do it better than others. Some people are better storytellers than others. And we all find our favorites. I don't know about you, but if if there's a movie maker that makes a movie and you like it, then you probably want to see it again. If there's a chef that cooks something and you enjoyed it, you're probably going to want their next meal. And it's the same way with writers. When they write a good book, then they come out with something else. You want to see, can they live up to it? Can they create that again? Can they take me? What's the old saying, that when you read a book, you actually make a movie. The movie is created in your mind. You get to be the one who decides what those characters look like. And I don't know. And again, I think that when somebody paints a great picture with words, and Anthony Dewar can do that for sure. So you might want to check that one out. I'm just going to run through them quickly, and you can go and look for yourself. The other book, Amor Towles, if you're not familiar with A Gentleman in Moscow, that is a well-written, worth-reading book, but his new one is called The Lincoln Highway. Also, someone told me when I put this one on my 10 best, it's Kristen Hanna, who wrote The Nightingale, and she's out with one called The Four Winds. They said, I can't get past this book. It's so haunting in its descriptions. It's a book that is set not only in the Depression, but also in the Dust Bowl. And to me, it's kind of an updated version of The Grapes of Wrath, but instead of being told from a man's perspective, it is told from the woman's perspective. It is haunting. It's one of those stories that you can't get away. When you stop reading the book, you're still seeing the book. It's impactful. It's depressing. but it's also enlightening. It makes you appreciate the little things in life when you see what people had to go through during the Depression and during the Dust Bowl. It really does. It makes you realize, how good you've got it. No matter how tough the situation is it as extreme as it was for those people? Clara and the Sun, interesting book, sci-fi, winner of Pulitzer Prize. This is one that will, I don't know, it is sci-fi. It's the story of, in the future, robots have been created to be the friends of people, to be companions for people. And this is the story of a robot who meets a girl who becomes the robot, which is AI, artificial intelligence, becomes the friend of the girl. Yeah, you just have to go and see it. But again, it's a really interesting read. The Dutch House by Ann Patchett did not come out this year, but if you want to listen to an audiobook instead of reading the book, this is a great one. It is Tom Hanks who does the narration of this book, and it's just a good character study. It's just a good family study of what happens, and it's all based around this one house and the people who inhabit it. And again, it's called The Dutch House. Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, I found it very interesting to read. Just so happens that Matthew he's younger than me, but he grew up in the same town that I did, Longview, Texas. My parents know his parents, that sort of thing. And of course, I've always admired him from afar, but it was interesting reading his bravado that comes out in the book and the statements that he makes. So if you're looking for something like The Glass Hotel, the author of Station 11, which is now a series on HBO that a lot of people are watching. This was a very haunting book, thriller, if you want to read. Stephen King, to me, is one of those hit and miss authors. I love some of his stuff. I'm not a big fan of others, but this is Billy Summers, the story of a hitman who tries to go good, that tries to make things right. And to me, that's the best stuff that Stephen King. You want a good memoir? This is my favorite of the year, Ron Howard and Clint Howard. It's told from both of their perspectives. Of course, Ron being Opie on the Andy Griffith Show, and then becoming, of course, Happy Days, and then from there becoming one of the preeminent directors of my generation, and Clint, an actor as well. And it's very insightful into what goes on in the process, how they grew up, what their family was like. And if you like the Andy Griffith Show, you'll love the stories that he tells about working with not just Andy, but also, of course, with all the other character actors in that show. And if you're looking for sci-fi, this may be the best one of the year. The guy who wrote The Martian is back, Andy Weir. It's kind of a strange book, but it's enjoyable. It's a page turner. You're just waiting to see what happens. I'll just give you a hint. It's about a guy who's stranded in space. Last mission to save the world, right? Project Hail Mary. And that brings us back to the first book, which we mentioned, Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. So that's Dan's top 10 books of 2021. What I am encouraging folks to do is if you have a book that you read this year that you think I need to read, or one that you look forward to reading, comment on my page. I'd love to see what it is. And of course, I will share it with everybody else. All right. So again, just one of those top 10 things that we are doing. We're going to be doing reviews for the next couple of days anyway. All right. That is it for me today. I have spent enough time taking your time. So going to remind you, of course, that you can catch up on what's happening in local news real easy. Noon show today. Then, of course, 5:36. 9, 10 p.m. And then we'll be back. I'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning on KFDM TV with an update on your headlines. Till then, you go out and make it a terrific day. Remember, you can also keep up on Facebook at KFDM News, along with YouTube. It's simply Dan's at Home. Subscribe, push the notification button, and we'll keep you up to date when we're posting all of our updates. And of course, we also remind you, hit the like if you don't mind, just a thumbs up as we go out and make the most of our Thursday.